Hello, welcome to the Midnight Markets podcast. My name is Sofia Cruz, and today we have a really special guest. Her name is Julia Anderson, and I know Julia from a long time ago, but the audience that listens to us, they do not. So, Julia, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name is Julia Anderson. I'm currently a junior at GW, and I'm studying finance. I have a specific kind of interest in private wealth management, and I've done some pretty cool internships in that space. That's kind of led up to my offer for next summer. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, what did you have any internship this previous summer?
Yes, so I was at Proficio Capital Partners in Boston, Massachusetts, and it was a great short-term experience, I would say. It definitely I got on a Bloomberg terminal. I was kind of able to get hands-on experience and just tracking the markets and working on a team of analysts and also people that were really accomplished at several different firms. So yeah, it was a great experience.
I bet it was. And you were in Boston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. So that is such a great city. I mean, it's so close to everything. And you were telling me that you were also working with tons of professionals. Did you ever feel like, oh my God, I'm so young here? Or what was your feeling?
Yeah, I definitely had that moment of wow, I'm kind of the youngest one here, but it was really great because one of my mentors actually and my main point of contact during the internship was a GW student that graduated a few years ago. So we had that in common, and I just adjusted pretty well to kind of a fast-paced environment. And I think it was a really great stepping stone for next summer.
Yeah, for next summer. Yeah, what can you repeat again for the audience, what you're doing upcoming summer?
Yes, so I will be at Goldman Sachs in their Chicago office doing private wealth management.
That's amazing. I mean, Chicago is actually where the futures market started. So, I mean, you're going to be in the place. But, I mean, you must have gone through all the recruitment requirements and all that good stuff that, the deal of. And so, my question is, do you think that anything here in GW prepared you for an interview at Goldman Sachs?
Most definitely. I would say definitely just being a part of so many different clubs on campus and also really relying on my mentors. Specifically, the Finance 360 program helped me out a lot, where we got, a Tuesday training session with someone who kind of worked in a financial industry, and then we had guest speakers come in on Friday and we could ask them questions. But that, I would say, prepped me the most for the interview environment. But there was also kind of the element of keeping up to date with markets and what was going on in finance in general. And I would say that the stock and portfolio management club helped with that. And I was an analyst in the fund. So this is a pretty full circle moment for me to be here.
Moment,
Yeah. And I also had several other involvements with GWIB and my sorority managing those finances. So everything just kind of led me up to, that super day, that interview. And it was definitely a long road. I think I started my sophomore year kind of being like, okay, what do I want to do in finance? How do I get there? And kind of just trying everything out that was possible. And, not everything worked out, but that's kind of the beauty of it, I think. I think you really end up where you're supposed to be. And if you truly love something and you truly want something and you are putting effort towards it every single day, you will succeed. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's whoa, that's really thoughtful.
Sorry.
No, that's amazing because, I mean, you were also part of your sorority. You were also part of the SPMC. I mean, and you were also part of Finance 360, and you were also a student, and you were also telling me that you did previous internships while you were also a student.
I was working at the Treasury part-time also last semester, so it was definitely a lot. And GW Women in Business as well. We put together a whole conference, and I was kind of mentoring students there as well. So yeah.
I remember seeing you there. I was but I mean, you've done so much. I mean, the definition of doing good things, you are busy, your schedule is busy for approaching you to your goal, you get me? But do you live by any mantra, or do you have a mantra that keeps you going? This is my small win, this is what keeps me going? I mean,
I would say I'm not sure if it's really a mantra or a small win, but I definitely came into that second semester after I had submitted like my applications to these bigger firms and I was kind of on the track of networking that I really wanted to take care of myself and have a routine. So kind of what that looked like was me waking up 7 a.m. most days, hitting the gym because that was the only time I really could go, then going to class for a few hours, and then getting my school in and going to the Treasury, finding like a little quiet room to do some networking calls during that, and then going back to campus and kind of having my club or org meetings,
Yeah.
and then kind of doing some homework and getting to bed at a reasonable time. Do not know how I got through it, but I still had time also for like my friends and just to take care of myself, to have social time and also just alone time on the weekends. So, yeah.
It's about the self-care, right?
hmm
Because if you're tuned with yourself, you can do so much more
for sure. That's
and
very
be
important.
more productive. And I mean, you were telling me, I remember last semester you were also an analyst and you were also working at the Treasury, right?
Mhm.
What was something that surprised you while you were working at the Treasury?
I think that definitely working for the public sector was an interesting experience. I
Uh-huh.
specifically worked in the Office of Foreign Asset Control. And so that has to do with a lot of sanctions that the US is imposing on other countries. And at the time, I remember literally live streaming the Liberation Day tariff announcement on my phone, like while I was sitting at the Treasury. And that office is the exact one that kind of implements and enforces those tariffs. So it was definitely pretty eye opening to be in the middle of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely a big takeaway was just doing as many coffee chats as possible, kind of just asking questions whenever I could. I wasn't there just to, sit on my Excel sheet and do my deliverables, but also constantly just learn and grow.
Yeah. I mean, you learn a lot from your mentors or also like your coworkers. But at the Treasury, like, what, I mean, was there like a moment? I mean, I know that you're not allowed to like foreclose what happened, but like top secret. But is there something that was like, whoa, this is like mind blowing apart from like Liberation Day? But like, I mean, did you ever like know beforehand that that was gonna happen or?
No, I didn't. Obviously there was a lot of like media in that like Trump was going to be imposing these tariffs of
Mm-hmm.
some sort. We didn't know the scale or anything. But we were all kind of in that anticipation. Obviously markets were also in that same intense anticipation during that time. Um, but will say a main part of my job was kind of sifting through those blocked asset reports.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool to see kind of the different asset classes that the US has seized. It's not always just like a bank account transaction.
Uh-huh.
Some of the ones I was looking through that I could remember involved like Russian yachts that America had, seized, and that's public information. But
Yeah. Totally.
just kind of a variety of different, really interesting asset classes.
That's really interesting. It must be like, I mean, you were literally looking through how they were doing it and like how they were doing it. Oh my. And I mean, earlier you also mentioned that you had like a mentor. Like, how do you look for a mentor? I mean, I know that you must have many, but like, what's like a specific factor that says, oh, this is somebody who's actually teaching me? And what's like the biggest thing you learned from them?
I think like you said, had mentors in a lot of different places. I think it comes from, it can be even kids in your class that have gone through recruiting and just asking them the little questions of how do I send this email? Like, should I be reaching out to this person after apps close? Like, what is the situation? And just asking all those little questions. But also, I think after you start networking for a while and you have like those second and third calls, you really start to have those kind of experts as your mentors too. And I think a very important quality is a mentor that kind of instills confidence in you. Networking can be really stressful, and especially when your peers around you are, saying, "Oh, I got this interview, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this offer." It can be really overwhelming, and sometimes you just feel like a failure. And so having a mentor
Mhm.
that can really, pick you back up and tell you, no, like you've got this, you have interviews on the way.
Yeah.
And once you do get those interviews, like you're going to negotiate them and get the very best thing for you.
Exactly.
And so I think it definitely boils down to just someone having confidence and belief in you, because that also will reflect when you do have those interviews, and also just your self-image and how you present yourself.
Exactly. I mean, and self-confidence, like whenever you're interviewing, it's part of the, if not the biggest, but one of the key factors that lets you in or not into a place. And um, is there something that a mentor has told you that literally like changed how you think of anything in life, really, like in the professional way, like?
I think that definitely just having a perspective to keep going, and just continue to network and constantly reach out to people. Also, just continuing building those connections time and time again. And like I mentioned, believing in yourself, I think that just was something that clicked. Just because I think also with recruiting, a lot of people are kind of following the investment banking timelines,
Mm-hmm.
and private wealth and S&T even. Those timelines kind of are less talked about. And so when a lot of my friends were, getting those interviews in January, I was like, oh no, like, did I do something wrong? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
happened? And so it's kind of my mentors that told me, and people inside the firm, that no, we haven't even pulled resumes yet. Like, you are on track, you're doing well. And kind of just getting those reps in of those practice and mock interviews, all of it together.
All of it was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all worth it. By the way, I remember you were telling me this last summer you were looking a lot of you were working with a Bloomberg terminal. But outside of work, what did you look at, or why do you currently look at in order to keep yourself on track with what's happening in the news?
So actually, I really love podcasts. I would say that I specifically kind of focus on macro news and what the Fed is doing. So some of my favorite podcasts, just to get like a base news kind of outlook, would be Morning Brew Daily. I put that on every morning. It's really fast, entertaining.
Smart. Yeah.
I even have some non-finance friends that have started listening to it, because I'm like, this is a really great podcast, honestly, for anyone. And also, there's one called Macro Voices, which is specifically targeting information for institutional investors, and also just people that are focused on the private wealth side of things. And Macro Voices, which is out of the Mercatus Center at George Mason, actually. They have a really good podcast, and they bring like old Fed board advisees and lots of experts in the field, and it's just really educational. So I would say definitely that, and also just utilizing like the free or Wall Street Journal and all of those resources
Yeah.
too, doing some reading.
Yeah, it's important to read because I mean you were also telling me like in some interviews they asked like did they ever ask you like any questions like
Yeah. I got like technicals.
like about the markets and also technicals?
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of the technicals for private wealth are markets based. So one question I got at JP Morgan was like, if you woke up under a rock and had to tell someone like two things that they should invest in, what would they be and why? And so kind of just having those questions in the back of your pocket, I had like a running document of every single question that I could think of or that I got from my mentors that they had been asked. And I would just kind of type on that document like my answer,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of have that as a running
Yeah.
document. But by the time I got to those super days and those interviews, I had practiced so much and thought that it was going to be so much like more stressful than it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think like getting those reps in early
Mm-hmm.
really just make things really go smoothly, and that's kind of how you end up being successful on the day of the super day.
Exactly. I mean, the discipline is also freedom. I mean, not freedom, but like you feel more comfortable
Mm-hmm.
because of how many reps you were doing, and yeah. Um, is there something that has caught your attention lately? I mean, in the news. that you've been looking at?
Yeah, I think, well, the Fed just cut rates last week by 25 basis points.
Yeah.
That was pretty expected news. I think over the past year, we've been expecting a stagflationary environment. And I think that a lot of the economic data that's been coming out is really reflective of that. And so it's kind of this difficult decision for the Fed whether or not to, keep those rates high or lower them. And they're also facing so much political pressure currently, which is a whole other tangent. But I think definitely keeping track of what the Fed is doing and also just the overall macroeconomic environment,
Mm-hmm.
specifically because I am someone going into an industry that focuses so much on the long term. So, what are we doing for our investors in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years? Like, it's definitely a ramp. It's not just what is the S&P 500 at
Yeah.
tomorrow for a lot of those clients.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you have to think because it is it's their investment, it's their money, and you have to like think properly what you're gonna do with it, right? And I mean, you since your very first internship, you've been doing like finance related roles and such. But what is something that through your entire time doing internships, what is something that just like stick up to you and like in more like simple words, like what's something that you really learned since your very first internship till your last?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think specifically just thinking about my internship this past summer, but also all of them, I think it's really important to stand up for yourself kind of when you're an intern, in the sense of just asking questions, asking for constructive criticism or just feedback, both good and bad, I think is really important. A lot of the people that you work with during an internship, are busy and they have a lot to do. And so they don't always have time to fully, scan through your work or anything. But I think just letting them know that you do want kind of what are you doing wrong, even if it's really small, is a huge step that you can take. And I think once you do that at the end of your internship, it'll make your supervisor or whoever is mentoring you at that job a better supervisor because
Yeah.
they understand that you need that feedback. But also, it just makes the internship so much more valuable. Just kind of learning that versus, just doing a good job because you probably are on the right track if your internship is telling you, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that looks good. But really just advocating for yourself and really wanting that feedback is super important and something that I've been doing, I would say, since my first internship
Yeah.
back home. So, yeah.
That's great. I mean, always, yeah, that clarifying questions. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Julia. I mean, a lot of people are gonna understand I mean, they're gonna know so much about you and like relate it to their lives too. And it's just such a great insight, really. I mean, not just because you've had like experience, but because you've learned from your experiences. And thank you really for making the time to spend with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and thank you to the people listening. Thanks so much to Sophia Mian and also Katie, who are the reason why the podcast airs every Thursday. So thank you so much, and I will see you next week.